The view of Andrew in Halifax, does it proceed, or is there some kind of postponement arranged? What should happen? Good morning.
Morning, Nick. Well,
Hello,
of course it should go ahead, and it's just an indication of how many serial imbeciles are embedded into the upper echelons of our political class, that there is even a suggestion of cancelling it, quite frankly.
You don't feel that the king is being used as a pawn, Andrew? And if you don't have any issues with that, then?
No, I think, the purpose of the royal family is to promote soft power as intended by a sitting government of the day. That's the same now as it's ever been. But, all these calls...
There's no sanction, then, on the president for that behaviour in the Oval Office?
Sanction for what? Zelensky provoked that situation.
For his appalling behaviour. And, come on, it was bullying, particularly when that low-life J.D. Vance got involved, who I'm delighted to say has had to move his skiing trip because he's been heckled by local Americans. I think it's Vermont. It's fantastic. They're suggesting he goes skis in Russia. Fantastic. That's his skiing holiday ruined.
Well, you and I, on this particular issue, Nick, we don't often sit on opposite sides of the fence.
But we do. So can I ask you to present the evidence that you think Zelensky was the disruptor here? OK,
so Zelensky went in. If most people took time to see the entire 50-minute press conference instead of the heavily expurgated version that was put out by the likes of the BBC and Sky...
I was watching it live.
Yeah, well, you'll have noticed that he came in and made all sorts of demands about what he was and wasn't going to accept before these peace negotiations have even got into their embryonic stage. And then, when J.D. Vance was suggesting the use of diplomacy, rudely interrupted and started dissing those suggestions before this evening.
Yeah. You're a very decent bloke. Someone who's yes, you are. We've spoken for a number of occasions.
Yeah.
Someone who's a visitor like that. Is it appropriate that a journalist asks a question, why aren't you wearing a suit? And then the President and the Vice President openly laugh at that question. How appropriate is that?
Well, I don't know whether it's appropriate. I thought it was unnecessary.
So thank you, and thank you for being honest. So does that not set the tone, then, for what happened next? There's even suggestions that it was all a put-up job, because the journalist I mentioned, Brian Glenn, is very close to an extreme political congresswoman called Marjorie Taylor Greene. So I'm not saying it was a set-up because I don't know. But that set the tone. You don't treat guests in that fashion, do you, Andrew?
No, but you also don't come in and mutter bitch in Russian under your breath as Zelensky did. And if you look at a number of analytical videos of that meeting, that is clearly what has come out of that.
I know, but I think if you're on home turf, Andrew, I'm glad that we've had a respectful conversation. You say that it all falls down to Zelensky. Let's see what others. Have yourself a good day, sir.
The visit should definitely happen. In fact, it's probably even more important now to happen. That soft power that the royal family manages to wield is critical, in my opinion, because with people like Trump and Vance and people like that with their kind of egos, basically, I think we need to try and get a communication going with them. I think that interview with Zelensky was engineered, personally. I believe
if you look at it was, I don't know if it was an interview, was it? But anyway, that's
I agree with you. The sit down chat or whatever. But he had called him a dictator, which he rode back on. And I think Putin has probably laid it as a prerequisite to any talks that Zelensky's not in the room. Because that's another man with a sort of a crystallised ego. So he probably says that I'm not even going to talk to anyone if he's on the other side of the table.
Dennis, thank you for that. Everybody's saying the visit should go ahead to date. Thank you. Have a good day. So a little bit of social media and emails before we move on. Charlie Stone in Bury. Trump is an American, a New Yorker, and a businessman. What did he say that was wrong? Wrong place to say it, yes. Well, I don't think you conduct negotiations like that in front of the media. I know he relished it, but I don't think that's the way. William in Cape Town, let the visit go ahead. Trump's cavalcade will probably be greeted by large crowds booing and flashing rude gestures. Meanwhile, Michael in Kent, Trump and Vance are a disgrace to the offices they hold. If our Prime Minister acted like they did, they would be kicked out.
My opinion is this. He still has to come.
Yes.
And to say that I was devastated, I phoned Ian Payne about 5:20 on the morning after.
Yes.
I said I could have cried when I saw that bulletin. I could have cried.
Why did you feel it so... unless you know Volodymyr Zelensky. Why did you feel it so personally, Marilyn?
Well, to be honest, it was like school kids. It was like bullying.
It was bullying.
Well, personally, because I'm really anxious about the war in Ukraine.
Do you know what? Can I share something with you? I actually loathed J.D. Vance more for the way that he... President on president, fair enough. It's still wrong. But the fact that he had to call in and he decided to go in and put the boot in as well, the vice president, the Veep, I thought was disgraceful.
It's terrible. But now, one other thing. When Zelensky was coming over, if you listen to the clip of President Trump, I shouldn't call him President Trump, just Trump, but basically, he was very down. If you hear him sound about that Zelensky's coming over, he went, oh, well, yeah, he's coming Friday. It was like, no, it was so, obvious that he wasn't looking forward to that. Right. And I thought that he was going to act like this with Keir Starmer, the way he's acted with Zelensky. I've never really been a sort of fan of Keir Starmer, but I really kind of had a hope that he would get on okay, and he did. He did for our country.
All right. Marilyn, I can still hear the emotion in your voice. Please excuse me moving on. It's to get others involved. Marilyn, thank you. Albertina in Greenford. Albertina, what of the royal visit? Yes or no? Good morning.
I actually emailed my MP, James Murray, as soon as that happened, because I was listening to it live, and I actually emailed and asked for him to...
And what did you say in your email?
Well, I personally would rather the royal visit did not go on.
Right.
It did not actually happen. I can understand why people think it should, but if it does, if it has to, I think it has to be so low-key that it's almost pointless. And it costs
that's a bit demeaning to the king, isn't it? I mean, if we're going to do it, we have to do it. We can't just have him sort of getting an Uber from the station, can we, really?
Well, I don't know. I think it's hit that level, hasn't it, really?
Well,
I mean, it's really, to be honest, to put the king in that position is absolutely disgraceful anyway.
Yes.
But, I mean, it costs an absolute fortune to have one of these state visits. And if money is that short, perhaps we could put the money we would have spent on it to the defence budget. I mean, I'm sure Trump would understand because he's made so many cutbacks in his own administration. If that's the trend, that's the way it has to be. But right. I really do think that I agree with you. I think that Vance is appalling. He
really was a lowlife there. Albertina, thank you. Albertina says it goes ahead but radically scaled back. Thank you, Albertina. Jan says, I can't think of words adequate enough to describe Farage's mate and his sidekick Vance. I'm not a royalist, but to subject the king to people like Trump is inhumane. At best, he's a vile, arrogant bully who would appear to be more at home in Sicily. Remember, Nigel Farage is with us later in the show to give his view, his verdict on those events on Friday. Kate in Surrey, everyone should just chill out about the royal visit. Keep waving the shiny thing at Trump, but don't commit to a date. Charles can have time off in lieu. William will be on holiday. So tell Donald Trump it's Andrew or he can wait. Now that is funny. Terribly sorry, the King is otherwise engaged. William is away, but we have got Prince Andrew for you. I quite like that idea.